Hi, welcome to the Builded Atom PhET activity instructions video. This instructions video is for an activity that I purchased from Teachers Pay Teachers. So if you would like to get access to this handout or this activity, you can go there and purchase this activity. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing you want to do is open the PhET link and go to Atoms. And you can find the PhET link, or should be able to find it, in your Schoology folder. You can also Google PhET Build an Atom and click on the link. So now that we're on this page of our PhET activity, we're going to go ahead and click on Atom. And then we are going to set it up according to the PhET activities. So we selected Atom, and now what we need to do is expand the net charge and mass numbers boxes and then check stable and unstable. So here we're going to expand the net charge by clicking on the green plus. So now I can see my net charge. The mass number by clicking on the green plus. Now I can see the mass number. And click on the stable, unstable. Once I have this set up, the next thing I'm going to do is open the PDF of the PhET activity in your Schoology folder and go to the second page of that PDF. So when you go to the second page of that PDF, you should see this page. And the reason why we're using the PDF is because we are going to need to know the number of protons and neutrons in our atom that we're going to be building. And since it's color-coded, we'll need to see what the colors are. Our handout's in black and white, so we can't tell from the handout. So that's why we're using the PDF. So we're going to look at how to build beryllium together in this PhET activity. And it says build these atoms according to the information given. So we would get the protons and neutrons from here. And then draw the electrons and fill in other missing information. And we were going to get the electrons. We'll figure that out from the charge, if they give us the charge. And then we'll fill out the other information from what's provided by the PhET activity and our knowledge. One quick note here, you will remember from the excellent eggs activity that in our excellent eggs, the protons were blue, neutrons were red, and electrons were green. This is a different color code scheme here. The protons here are this orange or red color. The neutrons are gray, and the electrons are blue. So it's like the electrons and the neutrons switch color, and then the protons and the neutrons switch color, the electrons and the protons switch color, etc. So it's a different color scheme, so just sort of keep that in the back of your mind. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started by building beryllium. And first thing we'll do is we'll put in our protons and neutrons into the atom. So our protons, again, are these orange or red colors. So I have to count how many I see. I see 1, 2, 3, 4. So when I go to my PhET activity, I'm going to drag 4 protons into the atom. And notice how they go in the center? That's called the nucleus. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so I have 4 protons. Notice how by adding protons, it'll change the type of element because protons are what identifies the element. So now I've got a beryllium. But let's put in the right number of neutrons, and hopefully we can get it to be a stable beryllium. So we're going to count the gray spheres there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 gray spheres, or 5 neutrons, so I add 5 of those. 1, 2. Now as I'm adding the neutrons, it still is beryllium. That doesn't change. The neutrons don't change it. 3, 4, 5. Okay, but one thing that did change, it became stable. All right, so now I can start putting in some information here. The first thing I can put in, because I now know, is that I have 4 protons and 5 neutrons, and again, you get that from the PDF. All right, now let's go ahead and do the net charge, or use the net charge to figure out how many electrons I have. If we go to the atom, right now the net charge is +4, but I want a net charge of +1. In order to get the net charge to go from +4 to +1, I'm going to add electrons because electrons have a -1 charge. So right now I have a +4 charge. If I add 1 electron, you'll notice it becomes less positive and more negative because the electrons are adding negative charge to it. So I went to +3, but I needed to go to +1. So I added my second one. And then I add my third one, and finally it's at +1. Before we go back to the activity, I just wanted you to note where the electrons are. They're on these like dotted circles. These circles are called shells or orbitals, and that's where the electrons are. So protons and neutrons in the nucleus, and the electrons are in the electron shells. Let's go ahead and now go back to our handout. And on your handout, what you're going to do now is you're going to draw in the electrons. So we added 3 electrons. I'm just going to draw the electrons I see. 1, 2, 3, right? And I'm also going to write down how many electrons I had to add to get to a +1 charge, which is 3 electrons. So at this point, this should be filled out. Next step is to get in the rest of the information that's missing, atomic number, mass number, in our case. There may be other things, by the way, that's missing, like maybe they give you the electrons and you're looking for the net charge, or they haven't checked stable or unstable. So all that information we're going to get last. Let's start with the atomic number. That's actually pretty easy to get, and we can get that right away. Because remember, the atomic number is equal to the number of protons. So my atomic number is just going to be 4. So I will type that in later. But what about the rest of the information, like the mass number? In your PhET activity, you will get a lot of that information on the side. So if they're looking for the net charge, you can get it here. In our case, they're looking for the mass number, we would get it here. And it says 9. So you can just type in the number that's written here as a 9. So let's take a look at our activity here. So we have an atomic number of 4. Again, I get that from the number of protons. My mass number I can get from the activity. It says 9. So I'll just type in a 9 here. Oops. But there's another place that we can figure out, or another way we can figure out the mass number. Remember, mass number is the protons plus the neutrons, 4 plus 5. So I can also get it by just adding those together. So I can either look on the PhET activity for the mass number or add protons plus neutrons. All right, so that's how we fill this out. Now what I want you to do is to pause the video and try it for carbon, the carbon example. And when you press play again, I will reveal the answer. Okay, so here is the correct answer for carbon. Check and correct your work. So if you made a mistake, correct it. And if you know what your mistake is, that's fine, you can proceed on. But if you're unsure how why it's incorrect or what your mistake is, go back and rewatch the last portion of this video. When you're ready, resume, and we're going to go into the next section. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we are going to complete the third page, the second page of the PDF, which will be the first page of your handout. And once you've completed that, you're going to go to the third page of your PDF and the second page of your handout. So first you're going to complete this page, and then you're going to go to the next page. All right, so for the next page of your handout, what you're doing is you're practicing writing the atomic symbol from an atom that you build. You have the protons, neutrons, and electrons, and you're writing the atomic symbol. Remember, the atomic symbol has the mass number in the upper left corner, the atomic number in the bottom left corner, the net charge in the upper right, and then the symbol in the middle. Now, before we proceed on, we want to make sure we get the setup. And for this setup, we're going to use a different part of the PhET activity. So if you go to PhET, at the bottom here, we're going to click where it says symbol. Clicking on symbol, and it will take us here. The other thing we need to do for the setup is to click on stable or unstable. And now we're ready to go. All right, so for the instructions, we're going to build our atoms. So 5 protons, 6 neutrons, and 5 electrons in this example. And then we're going to use that to fill in our element symbol. There's also something here about how many stable isotopes of the elements you can make. You can go ahead and skip that unless told otherwise. In this video, we're going to go ahead and skip it. All right, so I'm going to build this atom that has 5 protons, 6 neutrons, and 5 electrons. So let's start by putting in our 5 protons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And once again, every time I add a proton, it changes the identity of the element. But what if I add in my 6 neutrons? Does it change? 1, 2, 3. As you can see, it's not changing. It's still boron. 4, 5, and 6. So I've added in my 5 protons and 6 neutrons. Now I need to add in my 5 electrons. So I'm going to go here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oops. There we go. 5. All right. So now I've built my atom, and now I can go ahead and fill in the information in the symbol. And remember the upper left corner, that top number there, that's my mass number. It's the sum of protons and neutrons. So 5 protons plus 6 neutrons will give me a mass number of 11. So I would fill that in. Then I would fill in my atomic number, which is the number of protons. And again, I can just copy it from the symbol. My charge is 0 because charge is actually protons minus electrons, or you can see that they cancel each other out. The number of electrons and protons cancel each other out because they're equal. So the charge is 0. So I fill that in. And then I fill in my symbol, which is a capital B. And I can't forget my element name, boron. And you can get the element name from what's written here. And you can get the symbol from either the top portion or what's written in the symbol. So the element symbol is a capital B. So once I have that filled in, the last thing I need to do is to see if it's stable or unstable. This one is a stable, what's called isotope. So I just click on the check on the stable box. So this is that filled in. All right, so that's pretty simple. So now you're going to try that for the next one. Try that for the second one, and go ahead and pause the video. When you press play again, we'll see the answer, and we'll see if you have any mistakes to correct. So you should have this as your answer. If you made a mistake, please correct it. If you do not understand what your mistake is, go ahead and rewatch the last portion of this video to see how to do this. All right, now that we've done that, we can complete the third page of the PDF, or which is the second page of your handout. And then I want you to go to the fourth page of the PDF and the third or the third page of the handout. All right, so now we're going to work on this part, the part 3, the game. So for the game section, what we're going to do is we're now going to go to the game portion of the Build an Atom activity. So at the bottom there where it says game, you're going to click on that. And you'll notice that there are several games. In order to complete this page, what you're going to do is you're going to try each game one by one and then record your score. Your score will be given to you as a number of stars, and you can get up to 5 stars. So you can go ahead and try the first game, game 1. You click on it, it'll get you started. It says find the element. So remember, you need to think for that like, how do I find the element? Do I use the protons, which here, or the electrons? All right. And then you can check your work. When you're done, you would then go back to game. I guess I'll just head back because it'll, oops, build an atom. There we go. You'll go and you'll try the next game and so on. So you'll keep going through the games until you've completed all of the games. So again, you would go to the next game, try that one, and so on. All right. Lastly, when you're done, you're going to go to the last page of the handout. And this is sort of a reflection, and use what you learned about atoms throughout the activity, with your notes, etc., and to answer these reflection questions. You may be asked to submit this when you're done, so just keep that in mind. All right, I hope you found this video on completing the Build a PhET activity helpful. Have a quality day.